I walk up to my mother's rent-controlled apartment in San Francisco. It's fairly nice, as is she. Upon meeting her, I feel lucky, competent, and assured. She hands me some lovely colored glassware and tells me it's a gift from me. As I accept it, I wonder how she prepared for this moment when she meets her daughter for the first time after 25 years. Is she trying to say, please accept this gift from me in lieu of all the years I was not there? We go to eat. She gives me the choice of Thai, Chinese, Korean. Wow, I think. She's so open-minded. My mother at home doesn't venture beyond standard Chinese takeout and views my interest in other cultures as eccentric. While at the restaurant, we exchange pleasantries, and she tells me a bit about where I come from. She's Norwegian and Italian, with a little German and English thrown in. We have a family tomato sauce. She says it's very good, and have some family in the south of Italy. She quietly avoids the subject of my father, so I finally ask, and what about my father, Charles Garcia? I learn he was a handsome Mexican-American man from Chicago, but an alcoholic and a mean drunk. They had been married and split while she was pregnant. His parents were very nice, she said. His father was a judge, his mother a nurse. Where did things go wrong, I wonder? This is our first meeting, and everything feels delicate, so I let the subject of my father drop. But I'm disappointed. I had imagined this first meeting as a curious exercise in information gathering from someone who actually looks like me. I imagined she would share everything with me about her life story, why she had to give me up, and all the feelings she went through. But she is surprisingly tight-lipped about it, sharing simply that she was going through a hard time and that she couldn't properly care for me. She is a spiritual person, and another thing that we have in common, and truly thought this would be best for me. She felt good about her decision when she made it, and she knew it had been the right one. We go to Golden Gate Park and walk and pass in front of a large Buddhist statue. I mention how I'd studied Buddhism in high school and how my father and I read Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance together, and we loved the discussions that arose from it. She says she also studied Buddhism. She mentions she's dating a Chinese-American man. She tells me she's dated men from other cultures. I have also. She loves to write poetry and wrote a great deal throughout her youth. I did also. She writes song lyrics, she said, for Eric Clapton back in the 60s when she lived in the Haight in San Fran. He had used them but never given her proper credit, she complains. I spent my 20s in Austin in several bands, writing lyrics and singing. I feel we truly do have a great deal in common. The trip is cordial, and though I'm in San Francisco for 5 days, I only see her twice, once in the afternoon and then for dinner with our respective partners. I never go back to her apartment to pick up the glasses. The whole experience is really not too unexpected, but quite frankly, it's deeply unnerving. After meeting Catherine, my birth mother, I'm sent spinning off in space like an astronaut with no attachments to mothership. Spinning, trying to find something to grab onto. It's like I have no reference point. I'm out at sea with no North Star. The feeling of instability of this dual identity sings out to me, like a fairy tale and a nightmare collided, like two stories have suddenly become one. How can I be me and also be hers? How can I belong to this family and also that one? Somehow I have landed in a realm beyond traditional rational footholds, and I have to find my way home. And home, by the way, will have to be reinvented. This will take some time. A few years later, I'm attending a child development conference. The man who is a veritable guru of how to raise emotionally healthy children repeats how critical it is for the mother to stay close to the newborn, how the child knows the distinct sound of their mother's voice, how breastfeeding teaches infants' hearts how to beat, how nurture is the most primal way we learn to give and receive love. Would my heart really know how to beat without having been held up to her chest? Now that I've met Catherine, my birth mother, I understand so much more the collective weight carried by my adoptive siblings. My older brother, who had been removed from his mother's care after she threw him on the floor in front of witnesses. My sister, whose own mother had given her to my parents to raise when she was 5. My younger brother, whose mother's addiction had caused irrevocable damage. Abandonment is buried underneath our stories like this unspoken word. No one wants to be forgotten, not cherished, left behind. How dare I be successful when my siblings are struggling with an unfair weight, a weight they never chose, as children? I may leave them behind just like they've been left behind before. I'm not sure how to be with all this without getting sucked down into its center of gravity. How do I think about my desires to pursue my dreams and my art or be a success when all this is happening? Where do I place this in Laszlo's hierarchy of needs? The one thing I never learned was why I'd been adopted. Catherine seemed so normal, smart, polite, not wealthy by any stretch of the imagination, but not destitute. Couldn't she have gotten it together to be my mother? Why? Why did she give me up? I would not find out until years later that Catherine had a nervous breakdown in her late teens after being forced to give up her first child. She started to exhibit schizophrenic tendencies. She later spent time in the Haight in San Francisco, experimenting with LSD, and this pushed her mental illness into full-blown schizophrenia. My aunt, her sister, tells me that when my mother was pregnant with me, she was battling it at full tilt. She tells stories of her walking without a coat in Chicago winter, skin and bones, sometimes no shoes. And somehow, I'm okay. I came to my parents at 2 weeks. I had been removed from her care by the Salvation Army Women's Shelter, where she found refuge. Despite my birth mother's refusing to give me up for 3 years, I ultimately stayed with my first foster care family, Art and Betty Carlson. Every few weeks, they reliably took me to the prearranged meeting with my birth mother, and most often, she did not show. Finally, I was adopted by them and went on to live a pretty normal life. First in my family to go to college, to attend grad school, start my own company, pursue my dreams and passions. And yet, I will never forget meeting my birth mother and knowing the close scrape with fate that my life had truly taken. How quickly I, just like many others, could have become a statistic, another neglected child victimized by circumstance. Today I know I transcend this story, and I'm at essence simply me. I also know this experience left its indelible impact on me. It's part of me. And now I know I must give back. I must serve. I must honor these roots, for they are part of my story as much as any successes I have been able to attain. Thank you.